Welcome back to my channel where I am recapping episode 3 of College Hill. This was a really great episode, and I think it's a real testament to what makes this show so special. So just shout out to Tracy Edmonds for just doing, incredible work in the reality TV space and just bringing something different to the table than a lot of shows bring. Episode 3 had a lot of ups and downs. It had heartfelt moments. It had frustrating moments. It had funny moments. Just all of those things that you're looking for in great TV. And so, just to recap the episode, starting from the beginning, they're on, I think week 1, but it's still episode 3, and Santana is spazzing, for lack of a better word. And I think it's just interesting that I don't know how much it was played up for the cameras, but certainly over the course of the first and second and now third episode, we just get some insight into Santana. And, it's kind of funny, but it's not funny, the fact that he's just like showing this lack of emotional intelligence and emotional maturity because, when it comes to this doll, and I understand that, like this doll, it's his stuff, no one should have touched it. It is just kind of interesting to see. And, he's been throwing tantrum since the season started. Not wanting to get up on time and then getting mad with the other cast members because they don't want to be late with him. And, just not displaying the kind of maturity that I think is necessary to succeed on this show. And certainly Santana is on the younger side of the cast members. And so there's some opportunity for him to grow and mature. So I'm really interested to see where he goes on this show. Um, the episode features, Claudia confessing to being the one to take Saucy's um, doll. And so it was kind of funny. It was like a funny thing. And I get where Claudia was coming from. But, ultimately Santana didn't appreciate it. And when you're living in like a dorm situation or a housing situation, you do have to be very careful and, particularly when it comes to other people's stuff. So, want to know what you all think about Baby Gay. Do you think Santana blew it out of proportion? Should Claudia have just minded her business and left his stuff alone? So let me know in the comments whether or not you think Baby Gay was justified or if Santana was in the right. And so the episode continues, and there is a discussion about Karlous's classroom decorum. And so inside of the political science class in particular, he is just very, upset about discussing this issue of homelessness and taking the stance that it's something that, you know, citizens should try to solve. And so he's just been like cursing and using disrespectful language and just being very belligerent on this topic. And so it brings up the question of like, when is too much in a classroom setting? Having gone to college myself, there are times where, topics and debates get very animated. Discussion gets very animated, but, you do have to respect your classmates. And I think this was an issue that came up with Jocelyn and Amber last season. Cause like Jocelyn was just going in, and that triggered, um, Amber Rose to respond physically. And so there seems to be some tension building with Nick and Karlous. And so I just hope that it doesn't come to that point with those two. So yeah, just interested in everyone else's thoughts about, Karlous's his classroom demeanor. Everyone in the house is talking about the homework assignments and how challenging they are. And they're also dealing with this issue of chronic tardiness, at least Santana is, because, Santana is still struggling on the day where they had to get up for class. He, once again was the last one down, but I do like the fact that the cast waited for him this time because this is a collective experience and they are doing this together. So it was good to see them, stick together on in this situation. But, Santana's just going to have to get it together because I know for me, I am very particular about how I perform in a classroom setting, and I'm not letting anyone, get my marks demoted or anything like that. So just wonder what you all think about Santana always being party. He likes to throw out this term, one band, one sound, and it's so funny because, that's just like, everybody needs to be on the same code. Everyone needs to be uniform. But there are times when that's just not possible because people have grades and jobs on the line. We continue to see Angela's vulnerability, and this is again one of those beautiful things about this show, which really allows us to see, you know, black celebrities, black influencers, black reality TV stars in a different light. And so there's this recurring theme of, Angela struggling with her vulnerability on this new journey, and that is something that's just beautiful to witness on the show, to see her growth, to see her arc. And so in this class, the professor is challenging them to dig deep. And in this particular class, they are, doing some assignments based off the life and legacy of Ida B. Wells, who is one of my favorite historical figures, a great, black writer, female writer who really put her life on the line in the 1800s to expose the hypocrisy of lynchings in the South because, when these lynchings were taking place, racists were going around saying that they were committing these lynchings because these black men had violated the dignity and purity of white women. But we know that that was not the case, that typically these were situations where black men were prominent business owners and they were making money, or they were trying to like galvanize political activity in a certain area, and the racists would do retribution against them and, burn their businesses down and lynch them. And so she really explored and investigated and exposed that hypocrisy, in her work and in her writing. So it was really good to see her spotlighted. Karlous did a great job on that segment. So it was great to see Ivy Wells, who I love. And then they had to do a town hall with Gen Z students. So they spoke with Gen Z students about different political topics. And Angela, again, was kind of concerned about her anxiety, but I love the way that she pushed through in this particular class and in this particular assignment. So they talked about gerrymandering, which is like how, legislators and governors or political parties draw up certain voting maps to like sway the vote one way or the other. So there could be like a population that is like 90% black, but they only get like 10% voting representation, or, 75% Democrat, but it ends up like the Republicans rig the voting maps in such a way to where like the Democrats only have 25%, or vice versa. It happens on both political parties. And the Supreme Court has been hesitant to like strike this down as illegal. They do it sometimes and others they don't. And this is all like in the aftermath of them striking down the Voting Rights Act, which was passed to ensure that those states in the South who had discriminated against black people would not be able to do that again. And Supreme Court Justice John Roberts was like, we don't need that anymore. But it turns out that we did, because as soon as it was removed, those Republican states, which were the former slaveholding states, which were the Jim Crow states, went and started, disenfranchising black people again. There was also discussion of women's rights. That was Karlous's and Nick's group. So it was very interesting to see the guys take on the topic of women's rights, and they highlighted things about like reproductive justice, and just, like women not having the ability or the right to control what they do with their body. And the question that I'm always asking is like, why is women's health politicized? Like, we should not be politicizing women's health. And on, even today, the Supreme Court, ruled on a case that was literally deciding whether or not women who go to the emergency room when their life is on the line, whether or not their life can be saved over the life of the unborn, baby that is growing inside of them. And so it's just wild that, women don't even have enough bodily autonomy and recognition under our government that, it would even be a question that you would not save the life of the mother. And so, emergency rooms and doctors were fearful because like they didn't want to be prosecuted by these states. And when this was happening on the ground in reality, like these women had to be flown to other states. And, if you ever been like, in like a mid helicopter, you got to be like evacuated to some other place. You may not make it. And so it's just wild that that was taking place. And then lastly, there was a discussion of gays in hip hop, which is, issue and a topic that has been a recurring one since the inception of hip hop. There's always been this like machismo and masculinity and portraying, these tough guys. And so this notion of being a gay guy, which is uh, stereotypically associated with femininity, that there's just like not a place for openly gay guys in the hip hop industry, especially openly gay, effeminate guys in the hip hop industry. There have been bisexual rappers in the past. There have been gay rappers in the past. I mean, no one should be surprised that that has happened. They just weren't out. And there have been some rappers who were out but were not feminine. And so that was a great topic that, Santana spoke on using his story. And it was really good to see like Claudia really do well with her group. Her and Tamar, Karlous did really good with Nick, and Black China and Santana did really, really good. And so it was just great to see uh, Angela's, Black China's breakthrough, and just to see her push forward as an intelligent woman who is capable of public speaking, capable of, completing an assignment. And, I must admit, she did a really, really good job. And, I loved in the confessionals where she was just talking about what she has to bring and, just showcasing more of that. And the professor did a good job of, like reinforcing her and encouraging her, in that situation. And then, to round the episode out, Karlous is still going on about his issues in the classroom regarding the homelessness issue, but just in general, he's just being a hothead and feeling like no one can tell him anything, and he doesn't have to explain himself to anyone. And so I like that Claudia, sat him down. Claudia just has like a very mature presence, and she likes to take and handle things head on. So I just love seeing Claudia in this setting because of her maturity. Same with Tamar, Nick. Like this is just a really, really good cast, and I just like seeing this cast so far. Um, but his demeanor and just how he's talking to everyone is just like out of control. But they were able to speak to his girlfriend or wife, and she gave the women permission to like keep him in check, keep him from just like talking out of the side of his neck. So that was good because it's just like some black woman solidarity when it comes to black men. They were able to visit the Covenant House shelter in New Orleans, and I must say that this was a very emotional scene. Like as soon as the director or whoever was over the house, this homeless shelter for teens and young adults, as soon as she started speaking and just like talking about the situations that these young people find themselves in, and then those young people walked in, I know that I was like very emotional. I was overcome with emotions, and it was really good to see that these celebrities, these successful, wealthy people also, um, felt that impact as well because it's one thing to like talk about homeless people in a theoretical sense in a classroom setting and just like, oh, they should do this and they should do that. It's another thing to like literally be face to face with people, especially young people who are down on their luck, who, oftentimes through no fault of their own, just aren't able to live stable lives. And so they find themselves in shelters. And so there was, two young women who were pregnant. And so then that's compounding the situation. There was a young man who spoke about, how, just losing his car alone was enough to like plunge him into homelessness. And so it was just really good to hear these stories from these young people and to put a face to this issue. And to really remind people that, we're not talking about just numbers and cents, and we're not talking about people, in an abstract sense. We're really talking about these young people and connecting with them. Karlous did something really good. He FaceTimed one of his friends who, one of the young guys that spoke, talked about following. And so this is just another great episode and more of a testament to the work that Tracy Evans is doing. I mean, how many shows spotlight Ivy Wells and, dive so deeply into the issue of homelessness? And so, I rant and rave about this show. I wait for this show to come around every year because I just think bringing black celebrities to an HBCU campus and just like intrinsically the great things that happen on the HBCU campus and the way that you are able to look at issues, I think is just so special. And Tracy Evans is just, continuing to do a great job of that. And so, the show ends with, of course, Santana being the wild child, the rule breaker, claiming that he is going to out to study and to be with a tutor, but really he's going to turn up. I also want to go back to the situation at the Covenant House because Santana was again opening up in that sense. So, I kind of got this love-hate relationship with Santana. On one hand, he's showing a lot of depth, a lot of, vulnerability and really showing up for these kids. But on the other hand, he's like breaking the rules and not paying attention and thinking he can do what he wants. So he's at the club, turned up, all on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, having a good time. And the classmates are like, bro, you're going to have to get it together. And I know in the next episode, he's going to be struggling to get up, struggling to get out of bed, which is going to lead to more drama and conflict with the other housemates because, like, he's taking it serious, but he's not taking it serious, which goes back to my point from the beginning of the episode, which is just Santana not displaying the maturity that I think should be brought to a show like this. This is such a great opportunity. This is like for the culture. It's rewarding in like a sense that you can't even put a price on it. This experience that Tracy is offering. So again, it was a great episode. Angela, boyfriend came to visit her, and so it was great to see her in that setting. And, he was just speaking into her and, just pouring into her and just, basically, recognizing her for the work that she's doing. And so, just peeling back the layers of these celebrities. I'm excited to see more of Tamar. I feel like there's been a lot of attention focused on Angela and Saucy Santana and Karlous. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more about Nick and Tamar. And just like kind of rounding the cast out. But again, another great episode. I was definitely touched. I was moved. So shout out to these celebrities. If you don't hear this from anyone else, thank you for being on this show, for, allowing yourself to experience this, to experience the HBCU experience and all that it has to offer. And just looking for another great episode. So, be on the lookout for next week. I'll drop another recap. But this is my recap of College Hill Celebrity Edition. Season 3, Episode 3, taking place in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm really excited to see them partake in the Mardi Gras festivals and culture. So those are going to be some good episodes too. But let me know what you all think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Share it, add it to your watch list, save for later, all that great stuff. But yeah, thank you all for joining.